All right, so President Trump is threatening to cut Obamacare subsidies as a way of forcing the Democrats to capitulate. Well, he will call it negotiate, but really to capitulate to his demands. So on Wednesday, in an interview, he revealed that his next move was going to be to use the health care subsidies as a weapon to get the Democrats to negotiate. These are the subsidies that are paid to healthcare corporations for lowered premiums. He's threatening, essentially, this is the Democrats agree that he's threatening to hold Americans hostage so that he can get his way with the repeal and a replacement plan for Obamacare. The problem is that, you know, it's not just that you can't get Democrats on board. You couldn't get Republicans on board, Pat, and you can't get them on board because you didn't have a coherent plan.
Yeah, because the Freedom Caucus thought that this was Obamacare light, so there was this weird coalition of people on the very, very far right and Democrats who were just voting against Trump Care. But also, Donald Trump made this threat all along. He said that if Trump Care wasn't going to pass, then he would just let Obamacare fail on its own merits.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, 100%. It was a combination of the Freedom Caucus, who now the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, Dave Bratt, Republican of Virginia, has come out and said apparently they're negotiating now. They're negotiating with Trump and they're coming up with a plan that's palatable to the Freedom Caucus. But here's the thing. If it's palatable to the Freedom Caucus, it is going to be highly detrimental to Republicans that are coming from purple states, that are coming from swing states, because Obamacare is overwhelmingly popular now because people have paid attention to find out what's actually in it. And the Freedom Caucus, the reason they opposed Trump Care / Ryan Care is because it wasn't quite draconian enough. It didn't really cut enough. It didn't hurt the right amount of people. So for the Freedom Caucus to now be on the side of Donald Trump or trying to negotiate something, this is not going to play well either. Is it possible that they're going to go to Obamacare twice and fail twice in the most spectacular fashion?
And there are also plenty of Republican governors and lawmakers who are benefiting greatly from the Medicaid expansion. So they're not going to do something that kicks hundreds of thousands of their own constituents off of their health care coverage.
And you know, they wanted to be able to do this, Pat, and get away with it by not having it enacted until after 2018, after the midterm elections. But the reality of it is that so many people have tuned in to what's actually in Obamacare now that they're threatening to get rid of it, that the Republican Party, President Trump, is 100% going to own this, no matter if it succeeds or if it fails. Whatever they touch, they are going to own. Now, there's a clip from CNN this morning that is absolutely absurd and obscene, in my opinion. And this is of Jeffrey Lord, a commentator, describing Donald Trump in this fashion with regard to health care.
Allison, I want to say something here that I know will probably drive Simone crazy, but think of President Trump as the Martin Luther King of health care.
Oh, Jeffrey.
When I was a kid, President
Jeffrey.
Kennedy did not want to introduce the Civil Rights Bill because he said it wasn't popular, he didn't have the votes for it, etc. Dr. King kept putting people in the streets in harm's way to put the pressure on so that the bill would be introduced. That's what
Jeffrey,
finally worked.
Now, I'm sure my homegirl Simone Sanders probably took him to task really well. And I know that we're on FCC regulated channels, but what the entire hell is this man thinking and saying? It's such a revisionist history that I can't even begin. I actually can and I will. But what do you think first, Pat?
It's an absurd comment to make, and I think he was right in the sense that he was going to upset a lot of people by making that comment.
Yeah, that's
but
the only
also
thing
it
he
doesn't
said
make
correct.
sense. It doesn't make sense because Martin Luther King said that of all the forms of inequality, injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane.
First of all, that's a great quote. I'm thinking if I've ever heard that quote. So I tip my hat to you on that one, Pat. That's great. But I'm trying to think, you know, what is it about conservatives that they always want to co-opt the legacy of people that they were probably would have been complicit in his death at his time? Like, they want to co-opt the legacy of Dr. King, and now they're even trying to do it to make him a tool of hurting millions of Americans, because as we all know, you know, Donald Trump is the Martin Luther King of healthcare. I mean, what the hell, man?
Well, it's because they'll argue that Martin Luther King and Abraham Lincoln as well were Republicans, but that was before the parties switched.
Yeah.
When LBJ signed the Civil Rights Act, the South went from Democrats to Republicans, and you had the
Solidly.
Dixiecrat Party. It was a
Yep.
complete flip of what we have now.
Well, I mean, Pat, you're throwing something into the conversation. You're throwing context into the conversation. And Republicans, and it's unfortunately some Democrats, but right now we're talking about Republicans. Republicans don't want context. They don't want the reality that if you really believe that you're the party of Lincoln, how can you explain the fact that you are now the party of the Confederate flag waving South against which Lincoln waged an entire Civil War? It just doesn't work like that.
I mean, it sounds nice to most of the public who don't realize that the parties have switched, but if you just simply explain that's what happened, it completely undermines their argument real quick.
Well, I want to present a new rule of politics. The number one rule, Sean Spicer learned the hard way, don't compare anyone to Hitler. The second rule should be there is only one Dr. King in a very positive and a very good way. Don't compare your petty agenda to Dr. King, Jeffrey. Get you some learning in here somewhere, somehow. Just go away, Jeffrey. Go away.